Hello everyone, this is Here's Trivia, and welcome back to another faction preview for Total War Warhammer 3, as we're kicking off our Kislev coverage today with none other than the secret 10th unlockable legendary lord in Boris, leading the Urson Revivalist faction. Now if you're new to the game and do not see Boris as a playable faction, it is simply because he requires to be unlocked through achievement in the game, and I already showcased that in a separate video earlier today, which I'll also share a link in the top right here for you to go check it out. For everyone else, this should be your first faction preview covering the Kislev factions, and to be honest, having 3 different legendary lords sharing the same 3 mechanics in the Motherland, the Adeniums, and the Ice Court does make covering them a bit challenging, since I would hate to repeat myself regarding these 3 shared mechanics in all 3 videos. So what I'm going to do is I am going to only cover them once in this video for Boris, because Boris is my favorite one of the 3. But if your favorite happens to be Katerin or Kastaltin, don't worry, I will still be doing a full faction preview for both of them next week, where I will focus more on what makes them unique, taking a look at the character skill tree, as well as some of their unique faction bonuses, to highlight some of your playstyles with those factions and what might attract you to play them over Boris or one another. So let's get on with it as we'll hop in here, and the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the unit browser real quick, because I know there are those of you who are pretty eager to take a look at the stat cards before the unit roster overview, which will come out later today. So I'm just going to quickly fly over these for those who are interested in custom battles and take a look at the default stats here. And like I mentioned, there is going to be a full unit roster overview in greater detail later today in custom battles, where you actually get to see these units as well as their abilities and so forth. But for the time being, this will suffice. And let's go back to Boris and take a look at his unique faction effects and lord effects. So as a faction, we'll enjoy diplomatic relationship boost with the Ice Court, which is our daughter's faction, 30 points of diplomatic relations with them by default. Construction costs for all garrison and religious buildings will be decreased by half. Construction time for all capital buildings will be -1 turn. This is particularly useful, both of these actually, because there are farther skills on Boris's skill tree that will expand on both of these. Then for rank up, his featured unit is going to be the War Bear Riders, so the Bear Cavalry. We get +2 starting rank faction-wide for recruiting these War Bear Riders. And for the Lord effect, for Boris's own army, these same War Bear Riders will have 50% upkeep discount. This is pretty massive. These are pretty awesome units. Massive amount of mass with them in terms of charge bonus. There's 16 per unit, and they function quite well. So this is another reason why Boris's faction is pretty fun to play. Having sort of a doom stack of War Bear Riders is definitely very feasible. Then on top of that, whenever we're fighting against Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, or Norska factions, we will enjoy +7 points of leadership for all the units, as well as +9 points of melee attack. Both of these are actually pretty big bonuses, and I think that's actually fairly strong, because most of these factions are going to be your early game opponents, as you have a pretty easy time making friends with your fellow Kislev factions, as well as the Empire to the south and a few other minor factions around you. And looking at the map, we don't actually start out around Kislev. We are farther east, past the mountain passes here, and we're going to deal with some greenskin early on, which also plays quite nicely into Boris's strength. He is very much an anti-large hero. He has a lot of bonuses that takes down large opponents with bonus damage, and we're gonna jump into game, take a look at that. So last thing here, showcase the settings, and let's start campaign.
the grave of Kislev's most glorious leader. If Tsar Boris did not slumber in ice, he could have safeguarded Ursun.
How low the motherland has fallen without you, my Tsar. How God is taken from us. I see it in visions. His death draws near. And yet your fool daughter dallies in games of politics. If only you were here, you could save Orson. That it cannot be. I will keep the faith as Kislev dies. Farewell, my Tsar.
Poor Kostaltin. His zealotry blinds him to hope, deafens him to the cry from the cold void. But I hear you, Boris Boka. Your spirit stirs in Kislev's hour of need. Let me guide you to Ursun for one drop of his divine blood, a fair price to save the motherland. You shall have your godblood. Ursun shall be saved. Our goal is to rescue Ursun, the god-bear of Kislev, from the clutches of Be'lakor. After fraught bargaining, my price is agreed, and I will do all I can to guide the Kislevites to their lost god.
Do not tarry with your whispers, seer. I know what you are. But all that matters is saving Ursun. Let us get on with it.
Your Majesty, it is wise to begin your quest to rescue Ursun far from the motherland, in territory once claimed by Kislev centuries ago. Ruins of ancient Kislevite forts should be retaken, but the orcs bar your way. Make war on the Greenskins and wipe them out. Heading west across the High Pass may well secure a route back to the motherland and strengthen the nation, but could undermine your daughter's reign. Perhaps it is better to go north. That is where the forces of chaos gather. Demons desperate to scour Kislev. We have a chance to head them off and ensure they never set foot in the motherland. All the while, my tome ruminates on a way to bypass the Maelstrom, so we may enter the Chaos Realms and save Ursun. Until then, the Red Tsar walks the world once more. Let Kislev's enemies cower at your name.
Alrighty, so that's kind of our intro here, and for those of you who've seen the quest battle to unlock Boris, you might notice the cinematic gives a little bit of different version of how he awakens from the ice, but that's fine. As we are working with Advisor here once again, our first missions take on the Darkland works around us. Pretty easy. We get one of our agents or hero, the Frost Maiden, with the Lore of Ice. Devotion plus 10, that's one of our unique resources, and Treasury plus 1,000. So let's first introduce the shared mechanics for all three Kislev factions, and we'll start with Devotion as a resource. So there are many ways to gain Devotion, mostly through fighting. That's the easiest way that I have found occurring this resource. It's pretty easy to gather. There are also going to be buildings that can provide per turn Devotion, as well as events, hero actions, certain technology providing a bit of passive Devotion increase as well. And you have to use Devotion for a variety of things. Invoking the Motherland, which is our mechanic here, will cost us Devotion. as well as using it to declare war on other Kislevite factions or going to battle against Kislev factions. That's all frowned against it. So you're not going to get much devotion fighting your own kind. You're looking to confederate them through being the stronger power. And you also need to spend this on your religious buildings as well as certain technology. So it is quite a useful resource. On top of that, how much devotion you have will determine the chance of chaos incursions in your land. So the more faithful your people or more devoted they are, the less likely they get corrupted and you have incursions of chaos on your land. It does get high enough where it becomes a green shield icon, and you actually will have no chance of getting chaos incursions, and that's actually quite nice. So saving up devotions in the early game is actually a pretty useful mechanic, because if we take a look at the Motherland mechanic, there are invocations to the 4 gods of Kislev, and you pretty much have to spend a set amount of devotion to gain supporters. So you're really trading it for bonuses and supporters gained depending on certain conditions. So for example, it could be whenever your character gains a rank, you gain 1 supporter. Whenever you construct a building, for occupying a new settlement, that's 5 points or 5 supporter. And then for fighting a battle, you get 2 points. And there's various bonuses that can also be improved with technology. So there's going to be a corresponding technology for each of these that will add additional effects to them. Each of these will last you 10 turns to gain supporters. And what you want to use your supporter for is to do supporter action. Because we are not involved with the court intrigue between our daughter and our faithful prophet, we don't actually have to just gain supporters on this bar. If you're playing as Katerin or Kostaltin, your supporters would just go here, and you're in a race to see who hits 600 first. The first faction that hits it will confederate the other, and you gain bonus relationship with all the other remaining Kislev factions to help you confederate them, even though my experience says you probably confederate all of them pretty easily along the way. There are bonuses at different increments, first 50 points, then over 100, over 200, over 400, and finally the bonus when you hit 600. So this is the race between Katerin and Kostaltin, and they just basically gain supporters through this mechanic as well as buildings. There are buildings that can provide passive support. And for them, this box here will be either paying up cash or paying up devotion to erase 50 points from your opponent. And that way you keep the lead. So that's how it works for both of them. For us, we can decide who we want to support. Our supporters go here, and we can send them in 50 increments to add to the side that we want, whether our daughter or Kostaltin. And my opinion on this is you should probably support your daughter, because she will be the easiest to confederate at the end. Once she confederates Kostaltin, she'll become quite strong because all the land, all the extra army. If you let Kostaltin do that, he doesn't have any relationship bonus with you aside from what you will get here. Because now, when we play this game, we will end up picking up these bonuses when they do, which actually speeds up our bonus because they are gaining passively as they will, as the AI faction, and we're dumping them extras that we earn. So technically, we can get these bonuses a little bit quicker. But like I said, because you have an extra 30 point with your daughter, having her pick up Kostaltin might be the easiest method for you to end up with all 3 characters at the end, because you can confederate the one that confederates the other. So that's kind of how this mechanic works here, and that's the Motherland. On top of that, we have something called the Ice Court. So the Ice Court is locked to you in the beginning, and you must research 4 corresponding technologies to unlock it. And what it does is it allows you to train Frost Maiden heroes or Ice Witch lords. And it takes, by default, 6 turns in the beginning, which can be shortened to 4 turns, I believe, once you get a technology that shortens the amount of training time. And what happens is, throughout your training, you'll be presented with dilemmas, basically a choice between 2 different traits. and you get that 3 times. So you end up picking up, well, actually technically you get 4, because you have to first pick if you want the Lore of Tempest or Lore of Ice. That's always the first dilemma. And after you pick that, they get 3 separate traits that could be from a bunch of random effects, and you can sort of build your custom hero or lord, and they come out with those traits on top of whatever you can get from their skill tree. So it's actually quite an interesting game. You do have to pay to train them, and then you still have to pay to recruit them onto the field. So it is an extra expense, but you do end up with some strong heroes. And if you don't like the ones you get randomly, you don't have to summon them onto the field. You can just train another and hope for a better set of random dilemmas to pick from. And that's the Ice Court. Our final mechanic, the Adamant, is currently not available to see. And that's because you can only have this once you reach 2 provinces. For every 2 province you have, you gain access to 1 Adamant. Now this is sort of like administrators in Total War 3 Kingdoms. You have always a selection from 4 different choices when you gain access to Adamant. So basically whenever you hit an even number of provinces, 2, 4, 6, 8, you presented with the opportunity to assign the Adamant into one of your province, and they can gain 4 bonuses. Basically, you can have decreased corruption, increased income, increased control, and I believe the last one is, oh, it's escaping me, but it's minor stuff. It's all revolving around corruption, control, income, growth. That's it. So it's these 4 right here. And it could vary from 10 points in one particular one, 6 point in one, 3 point in another, or just 6 point in one. It will vary. And you can assign them to that province, and they will stay there, and there will be events that come up from time to time where there's new dilemmas, pick between 2 different traits. Perhaps they can support the Ice Court, and all your Frost Maidens will get increased level when you recruit there, or decreased cost for recruitment, or you can side with a Patriarch, and your Patriarch, when you recruit them, could be cheaper. I could also pick between giving them new traits for battle, because they can be summoned onto the field as a Lord. You will gain a new lore category that would be called Adamants, and they can help you fight. So that's pretty much the 3 shared mechanic for the faction. Now, let's take a look at what makes Boris unique. So Boris, obviously, with the War Bear Rider feature, this is quite a strong unit. We have 1,700 mass for cavalry, which is around average. Speed is actually quite high for a heavy cavalry, technically, quote unquote, 95 armor. Usually heavy cavalry in the game is around 58 speed. We're at 75. Weapon strength is pretty good, but it will get better. It's bonus against large, which we talked about. A lot of armor piercing damage on that as well. And for most of the Kislev roster, there's only one unit that does not have this, which is the Snow Leopard, because they don't care about by our blood. They are a magical creature. For every other human Kislev unit, you have by our blood, which means you will become unbreakable should your leadership waver or go lower than waver. So any type of leadership shock, you can absorb it pretty easily. It gives your unit staying power, fight to the end for at least 30 seconds before they break. And if they suffer this dip from some sort of ability or magic spell or some sort of hex, you can bounce back because that will expire by the end, or perhaps you defeated the enemy unit during that period, or you were able to put a augment spell to buff your units in between, or have a leader walk by with their Aurora, something to save the unit. It gives you an opportunity. And even if you don't have a chance to do that, at least they can dish out damage for the next 30 seconds for sure. And that's a pretty nice bonus. If you play 3 Kingdoms, they're like the Qingzhou units. The only difference is this is one use only. So there's not some sort of cooldown where you can use this multiple times in a fight. So it limits to one time unbreakable 30 seconds. If you don't somehow recover from it afterward, your unit will break. This is a specialty just for Kislev faction in general, but it's a very nice one in my opinion. Now, why are bears good aside from their stats? Well, we have to take a look at Boris himself. Before we look at the skill tree, we are very similar. High armor piercing damage, bonus against large, decent armor, everything. The stat looks pretty good. We don't really use magic. We have Fury of Urson. Basically, we go into Rampage, we cause terror, and we dish out more damage for the next 18 seconds. We have similar passive abilities, and the battle effects we're already seeing from our Lord effect. We have a quest, actually 2, and none of them are quest battles, which makes it a lot easier. You hit rank 7, you pick up Shard Blade. You hit rank 10, you pick up Armor Urson. And the blade gives you more damage against large, enables magic attack, which I think we already have. So unless we want to give it to someone not named Boris, you basically gain magical attack from the weapon. Melee attack goes up by 6, recruitment cost discount, corruption reduction, and a new ability that deals area damage. For the armor, just increase armor, success chance protecting against enemy hero actions, wound recovery time, melee defense, and ability that gives us extra damage actually from the armor once we hit half health. So this is sort of a passive ability that kicks in when we're closer to death, I guess. So these are cool, and these are easy to get because we just have to hit rank. And then for skills, so we have our legendary bear, Urskin, that is our mount, will become unlockable at rank 11. Brasslong, these are pretty standard, but then we have Resettler. Remember how we have -1 turn on building capitals? Well, the reason why is colonization cost for us is free if we get Resettler, and growth +10. So we're really good at taking back land for free and rebuilding them. We build them up pretty quick. We get growth bonuses here. As one with Urson, so we sacrifice a bit of our own leadership, 8 points off of our legendary lord himself, and we give every enemy unit in the local region -8 leadership, which I think is just a great trade-off, because there are a ton of items in the game that makes heroes unbreakable. I believe I see at least 1 talisman and 1 enchant item that can do that. So you can pretty much sacrifice your leadership, become unbreakable, and then massive 8-point drop for enemy leadership. You're also Grand Builder. There was 50% faction effect for all garrison and religious building. And if you get Grand Builder, all your garrison and religious buildings in local province become free. And all the other building is -10%. So massive boost. And the religious buildings are the ones that are going to give you per turn devotion and per turn supporters. So it's a win-win there. And we also have the Con King. Rank 20, all the invocation costs, devotion costs for those 4 invocations to different gods, -10%, another 30 points bonus with all Kislev faction to help you with the Confederation. And that's not it. We also have a special line here. So we have Stout-Hearted giving us more hit points, more leadership. We'll get another 24-point bonus against large. So if you're keeping track, we started with 25. Our weapon gives another 12. That's 37. And then another 24 here. We're at 61. So pretty good. Immune to psychology. We got weapon strength plus 16% for all Warbear riders and Elemental Bear. The big, giant, massive Elemental Bear, which has the highest mass in the game. I think it's 9,000 mass. It's ridiculous. It's a single entity that we can give regeneration to. Yeah, it's nuts. Basically, the Elemental Bear can regenerate for Boris. For Boris's army only. So it's a special thing for him. And that makes it really, really awesome. Tsar Guard makes sense. We are the Tsar. And campaign movement plus 10%. The rest is pretty standard, right? Make ourselves stronger with different stats, make our units stronger with different stats, and then just the default campaign bonuses that we get. So nothing much to see for the rest of it, but just these 2 special line here really sells Boris for me. That's why I'm super excited to play him, and that's why we're featuring him for our sort of Kislev shared mechanic overview here. Now, we talked about the tech tree. We never looked at it. There are basically 4 sections. They're a little bit different. The first section, the land, it's in 3 sections that requires 2 and then 3 to unlock the third one. And you can see there's some that's going to cost us devotion in addition to turns. The turns will step up, I think 4, 5, actually 4, 6, 8, or 4, 6, 10, I think. More than that. Actually, no, can't tell. 23, 6, 6. So last one is 8, 13, 5. So it's 4, 5, 6 here. I know these are 10. Yeah, but these are like 4, 6, 8, 10, I believe. And this one's structure, these three here are structured a bit different. They're featuring the 3 major cities, which are the ones you need to hold to unlock Boris: Kislev, Erengrad, and Prague. And basically, there are 3 separate trees within the top section, but you need 5 in total to unlock the bottom section. And the most useful one here, well, not most useful, but the most one essential to our game mechanic is Ice Sculpting, Ice Court Indoctrination, Ice Court Discipline, and Ice Court Control. You can see the symbol here, and these are the 4 that will unlock your Ice Court mechanic. So basically, once you get this one, you can train 1 Frost Maiden, and then once you get this one, you can train 1 Ice Witch, and then you can train your 2nd Frost Maiden and your 2nd Ice Witch. Basically gives you up to 4 slots. And the ones that cost devotion will improve the invocation. So in this case, increase the income from all buildings and trade, and adds land awakened army ability to one of the invocations, adds casualty replenishment rate and growth and control for another one, and then this one will increase the melee attack for all units, and this one will increase the melee defense for all units. So essentially, this is probably the reason why you need to wait for your invocations. Using it early is actually not good, because you only have so little city and so little heroes and lords in the beginning that you're not going to get the maximum out of using those invocations, and you will lower your devotion to a point where you just get incursions all over the place, and that becomes a lot of trouble. It's much better to wait and save up the devotion in the early game to prevent those incursions, and then use them after you improve them. So that's kind of how I see it. And finally, you must have the city to go after the 2nd tier tech. That's another requirement for these 3 cities here. And that's pretty much it. That's going to be the technology here. Now, we mentioned all the mechanics. And for Boris, there's another pretty good bonus. Once we gain vision of our homeland, right now we just don't have access to them. But once we see them, we will have a pretty easy time trading with them. Trading in Warhammer 3 is different from 3 Kingdoms. You don't need a land route or a route between capitals. As long as you have vision, you can trade. So that means we have pretty much a great relationship with like this entire section of the map. So once we see them, we don't have to go and fight them, right? We can sort of push them in certain directions using the motherland, and then set up a bunch of trade routes, and then just push north, as the visor says. Fight the Chaos factions, fight the Warriors Chaos, fight the Norscas, because those factions we get bonuses against. So that's great. And we're just going to do a fight here to end our showcase, just to take a look at everyone on the battlefield.
Them down.
And let's jump in here. We got a little Grom. That's our only artillery unit. It's pulled by bears as well. Makes sense we would have them. And this is a very, very easy fight, of course. It's a single entity cannon. So it doesn't matter the unit size, it's always only going to be 1. Which is good and bad. Depends on which unit size you're playing. Just gonna keep him in the back.
Right hand.
We are probably just going to take it easy here. Where can I hide these boys?
For the motherland.
Let's go. Another thing I like about Boris's faction is there's not that many spells, which I personally don't like using. I feel like it still overwhelms me a bit because I'm mainly a historical player. Some spells are fun, but it's always nice when we can just focus on the combat part. Missed the cannonball. Let's see if we can catch a glimpse of it as it hits. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Let me pull them up the hill. That's what they're gonna do.
Warfare riders! Go with honor! Kislavites moving! Following Ursun's footsteps. It is done!
Let's see how accurate we are. Can we actually hit the guy who's moving? Do we even have vision of him? Oh, we do. That's not bad. We hit him. He lost health. Okay, I'm trying to pull his attention. And then we're just gonna do a frontal downhill charge. We are massive units here, so no one should really stop us here. Pulling them out of combat will be difficult though. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if I can use the charge command to get them out of the melee. Might not be possible. They're just kind of stuck in there, but we have plenty of health per unit, so they should be fine. And if anything, we can probably just charge at one of them. I'm gonna go crazy and do extra damage. Doesn't matter if we rampage, we just want to kill him anyways. Boys, shoot these. Alright, we got their lord. Not gonna bother giving him a command because he's not gonna listen to us for now. And that should do it. As they all rout. We actually didn't lose a single unit, even though they kind of got injured. That's without all the buffs from our skill tree.
They are nothing.
Alrighty, so we did pick up our Frost Maiden, which is a pretty standard hero unit. Scouting, basically increase your magic item chance, stand on the field, boost income, and you can target steel technology to speed up your research time for the next 3 turns, heroes for assassinating other enemy heroes, and for armies you can pick a unit, pretty much the lead unit, and assault them, reducing their health. Or you can... I mean, I prefer to keep them actually on the field, but that's just me. Alrighty, so that's our showcase of Boris. I think we covered all the Kislev mechanics. Obviously for buildings and such, we'll have separate guides. Gets a little bit too nitty-gritty with how the buildings work, especially with the main Kislev settlements. Those 3 in particular are single province settlements, so Prague, Kislev, and Erengrad are just one city provinces, and that plays out a little bit different. It does help with our Adenium mechanic because they count as an entire province, whereas we have to pick up a lot of land to pick up our first Adenium. But that's fine. We do win in other aspects. So hopefully you guys enjoy this guide, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!